Microsoft is going all in on AI. The company this week announced a new category of PCs called Copilot Plus. Their computers equipped with so-called AI PC chips and will now run on OpenAI's GPT-4o model. So as software technology continues to advance, we're looking at how to navigate the big picture and the best ways to position your portfolio with the Yahoo Finance Playbook. Let's welcome in Rishi Jaluria, RBC Capital Markets software equity analyst, as well as Frederick Havemeyer, the head of U.S. AI and software research at Macquarie. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I guess let's start, first of all, with the Microsoft announcement itself and sort of how we should think about it as investors, how big of a deal it will be, how incrementally it will add to revenue, et cetera. Rishi, I'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for having us. We were just out in Seattle at Microsoft Build this week. And look, I think the introduction of these AI PCs is actually going to be a really big game changer to getting generative AI in the hands of every knowledge worker out there, right? Recall, when you use any sort of GPT system today, it requires a fast internet connection, a lot of computing power. Now, it's gonna take time till they get light enough that everyone can use them. But you'll be able to use some of these more small language and medium language models locally without a super fast internet connection. And so that, I think, will enable a lot more kind of general purpose AI use cases and workloads that previously didn't exist. So I do think this is a very exciting announcement for Microsoft.
Fred, let's bring you in here as well. Same question, Fred. So, your reaction to that Microsoft event. Rishi says these new AI PCs, game changer. Fred, do you agree?
So for the past year, we've been making the call consistently that AI is going to have to move to the edge. It's going to have to move to the device. And in many cases, this does require hardware like what Microsoft is rolling out to do it. And it's what would get us excited, both about making this accessible to consumers and knowledge workers, plus also being able to drive uptake of AI in a profitable way. Because if you recall, I think one of the last times I was on Yahoo Finance, we had a great time talking about what smaller language models mean, large language models, still quite large, but nevertheless smaller, mean to margins. And as we found and we explored in the past, we think that achieving 80% to 90% plus gross margins with running generative AI models can be done by using small language models on specialized hardware or on local devices. So I think quite exciting.
Fred, just to follow up on that, you wrote in a recent note about how consumers are going to determine the impact here. And I keep trying to figure out if where we are in the AI cycle is still push or if it's starting to be pull. In other words, like all this stuff is coming out, are customers, particularly on the retail side, asking for this? Or are these companies still at the phase where they have to convince them that they want it?
I think that when we look at products out there like ChatGPT, I think we already see that there are north of 100 million users that I would qualify in many cases as consumers really interested in these types of products. Now, commercializing it and making it something that's useful and interesting for consumers, I do think that there are technologies out there that have been perhaps what you could describe as a solution in search of a problem. And at the same time, I do think that it's very clear to us that the technology of a generative AI model, of large language models, is something that will find fit with consumers over time. ChatGPT did, and I think that with the right interface and the right platform, we'll find it over time. I mean, I'm a user of Meta's Ray-Ban glasses. Not here to discuss Meta, but just the glasses. They're fascinating. They're really good, and I really enjoy having this modality of working with these generative AI models sitting right in my glasses. So we'll see over time.
Rishi, same question. I mean, when you look across your coverage universe, Rishi, what kind of customer adoption and engagement are you seeing when it comes to these new AI products and features?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you have me alongside Fred, because I definitely agree with him on a lot of what he's saying. Look, what I would say is when we're talking to companies, we're talking to CIOs, CTOs, heads of IT, there is real appetite for AI usage within the enterprise. A lot of this, I would say maybe 70% of it is actually net new budget. So it's not even cannibalizing other parts of IT. It's coming out from other parts of the organization. So there's real money being earmarked. We're seeing, I'd say 80% of CIOs are telling us that they are either currently in production or expect to be in production with AI over the next 12 months. So the appetite is real. The use cases are real. And remember, we're still at very, very early stages of this. If I draw the analogy to the internet stages, even though GPT-4o is incredibly powerful, this is probably 14.4 dial-up level, right? We haven't even reached high-speed broadband. So I think there's still a lot more way for the technology to advance from here, but already seeing real interest from the enterprise and from consumers as well.
So we know you guys both like Microsoft. Even before this latest event, you guys both have outperform ratings on that one. Fred, with you, I want to dig into a couple others because you like a couple of the cybersecurity names, including CrowdStrike. We recently heard from Palo Alto. That seemed to make investors a little uncomfortable here. Do you think the likes of a CrowdStrike are going to benefit from AI as to how it relates to cybersecurity, or is it just a more general cybersecurity play?
So we do think that it relates, like CrowdStrike is really benefiting, I think, from generative AI as a trend. While they're not selling generative AI themselves, we think that the advent of generative AI is making it much easier for attackers to exploit a lot of things. Like, for example, phishing attacks are becoming far more sophisticated. Attackers that want to build software are getting also just power-ups now, being able to use generative AI perhaps to actually build malware more effectively. We think that CrowdStrike, which protects the endpoint, it protects the device as the last line of defense against all of those attacks that have penetrated every other layer of security, is really well positioned to defend against the brand new unknown threats that we think are likely to emerge with the advent of generative AI. So really like CrowdStrike is our top pick for just overall trend-based exposure to generative AI in the cybersecurity sector.
Rishi, one name I'm interested in. So you got outperforms on Microsoft, CRM, so Fanadella and Benioff. You also, Rishi, like Zoom, which has been a tough slog. In the red, Rishi, year to date over the past 12 months. Why is Zoom a buy here?
Yeah, I think Zoom has a really interesting play when it comes to AI. There is so much unstructured data when you think about video and audio, even nonverbal communication, that I think Zoom has a really interesting roadmap. I think the hiring of actually from Microsoft was a great one, and I really like the kind of thought leadership Zoom has put out on having a federated AI approach. You think about things like sales coaching that it can tell salespeople, look, you're not making eye contact, stop wandering and make eye contact with your prospective customer. HR, when you're doing interviews with people, hey, this body language suggests that the prospective employee might be wrong or lying, maybe prod them with one or two follow-up questions. And I think about those use cases, maybe even verticalizing them for the contact center, where contact center Zoom has been getting a great amount of success. I think Zoom is very much an underappreciated AI play in my book. And
I love that it will help you be more human or interact better with other humans. That's just sort of a fascinating offshoot of all of this. You got one other one you guys both like is Salesforce. And Rishi, I'll take you quickly on this, and then we'll get Fred's opinion on why you think it is going to benefit here. I mean, that stock has also had some exogenous things going on, activist pressure, et cetera.
Yeah, I will say my bullishness on Salesforce is more related to the self-help element of the story. I think there's a lot of margin expansion from here. There's a lot more cost cutting they can do, a lot more efficiencies they can bring to the organization. So the stock feels very much undervalued in my book, and I think there's upside to numbers and upside to the multiple. From an AI perspective, I will say maybe I'm a little counter consensus on this. I want to see more out of Salesforce when it comes to AI. In theory, they could be a huge beneficiary. They're a system of record. Salespeople, marketing people all rely on it day in, day out, and it's a huge platform with this massive ecosystem. But I just haven't seen enough innovation out of their AI roadmap, where I would contrast that with HubSpot, which is another name that we really like, right, that has been showing a lot of innovation on the CRM front. So I think Salesforce has its work cut out on the AI front.
All right, Fred, quickly want to get your take.
Yeah, I think that I'm quite aligned here, actually, with how Rishi is approaching this. I think in the big picture of the software space, Microsoft, of course, we talked about, fantastic. I think ServiceNow stands out to me as one of the top generative AI picks in our portfolio. Salesforce, I really like. I do think that you have an opportunity here to just thoroughly imbue generative AI and AI throughout the entire Salesforce stack and make sellers, customer service agents, and the like much more powerful. I do want to see them delivering more functionality, which I think they're able to. And in the meantime, I do think that this overall margin expansion story with stable, profitable growth is something that keeps the stock quite attractive and keeps us bullish on the name.
Fred, Rishi, great having both you guys on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.